Welcome to the Scholar of Life. I am so excited. It's my first interview. I'm going to be interviewing the most wonderful human being, one of the most wonderful human beings that I got the privilege of knowing, and that is Sister Palesa. Sister Palesa, when I asked you to join me and you agreed, I was so happy. Thank you so much. I'm so excited. Viewers, she's going to be dropping so much knowledge. When I'm around her, she just has so much wisdom. Her intellect is on another level. So I'm very excited. Please explain to the viewers just who you are, sis.
Oh, wow. After that intro, I actually have run out of words. But anyway, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be joining Happy on this journey. And that this is the beginning of the journey. I really am seeing great things coming out. And I really hope I live up to this wisdom dropping that I'm supposed to be doing. But yes, I plan to enjoy it. And I'm sure we're going to have a great time.
Yay! Stay tuned.
There we go.
Palesa.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining me in this space, in this platform. Can you see the excitement in my face?
I can, and it's absolutely a pleasure. Absolutely
when you
my pleasure.
said yes, I was so happy. So thank you so much for joining me in this interview.
It is my pleasure, and I'm really excited. Can't wait.
So, who's Palesa? Tell us.
Okay, that's a loaded question, but I'll summarize myself. Palesa is a child of God, an African woman, and a mother. And I think I'll leave it like that for now.
All right, thank you so much.
Yes.
So much. Love that. Okay, what does success in the trying mean to you? Success in the trying.
Success in the trying means we're doing well as long as we are trying. But here's the story behind it. That we have in the back of our mind a different picture of what success looks like. And a lot of the time we sit with that picture, which puts us under a lot of pressure to say, I'm trying, but am I really succeeding? In my trying, am I being successful? So for me, success in the trying actually is waking up every day and saying, it's another day, it's another opportunity. I have a way to make things better. I have a way to do things differently. I have a way, not only a way, an opportunity to make things better, to do things differently, to rise above whatever it is that came before. Because the thing with trying, and trying actually means that I'm working on it, but I'm not quite there, right? The thing with trying also is that there's something that's pulling you. And success looks like it's a different thing. But I'm saying let's put them together and say success is the very act of trying and trying again and trying again, no matter how many times you fall. Just keep getting up.
So what happens to the person that thinks that my trying isn't hard enough?
The hard enough part is another conversation. So hard enough according to who? According to what measure? Because remember what I just said about waking up every day? If we constantly look outside of ourselves and at other people, at other measures for how well we're doing, I believe that that's what puts us under pressure. That's what actually takes us back. Because my true feeling is that you only measure your life by yourself, by your own pace, by your own time, by your own journey. Because I mean, if I could look back at my journey and the number of times I've failed and fallen, and the number of times I've thought that no, this thing isn't working, and just almost given up. But there was different things that woke me up the next morning, that woke me up the next week, that kept me going the next month, that said to me, Palesa, you're still doing well. And until I eventually started telling myself that. But that's also a personal development journey. So I got to a place where I started telling myself what I needed to hear. And I think that's the most important. When you measure by what's outside, I think it slows us down. The only person you have to measure against is yourself. This is an individual journey, in a group, but an individual journey.
Thank you so much for breaking it down. Next question, how do you put a negative thought into order? Yes.
A negative thought. Well, this is the other story. It depends what thought it is. I've found, and I'm going to talk about it, but let me digress slightly. I've found that much as I may have not necessarily agreed with it, I found that there are people who are actually driven by what we regard as a negative thought, like, oh, I'm not doing that well. Oh, no, you know what? I dropped that, or I failed on that. And that somehow motivates them. That somehow pushes them to, rather than saying, oh, you're doing well, which is what we tend to do, which is what we tend to do in terms of just like, motivating and pulling people up. Some people really do better. So it's a very individual thing. And I've got to the place where I choose not to judge, because as long as a person's moving forward, what they use is actually really dependent on them. But coming back to the negative thought, so
break it down.
Break it down. The negative thought really, it also depends where it comes from, because my thing is really to go to the source of the negative thought. That's my immediate thought, and I would have to think about it because you caught me off guard a little bit. But my immediate thought.
That's the whole idea.
I know. We're in this, right? My immediate thought is to go to the source. So when I have a negative idea and I'm a negative thought, and sometimes I go back and I think, what was that? I immediately have a conversation with it and with myself about it to say, what was that? What was it about? Where did it come from? So that instead of being scared and running away from it, because that's also what we tend to do. Oh, that's negative. Oh, I shouldn't. Maybe we have an opportunity to look at it and find out where it comes from, because then it's possible that it won't be repeated. Whereas if we don't look at where it comes from, it may flash back. And then what do? You keep on running away. So depending on the source, and again, going to the source means you'll probably find other things there that you may need to engage with. Look at and, dig a little bit and see what's happening there.
Wow. But what happens if that negative thought is your downfall? Because you're constantly thinking negatively because of your circumstances. I mean, especially with what's going on with the COVID, people losing jobs, people losing homes. Can I get up again? There's a lot of people with negative thoughts. Okay, and that can be, if you sit in it, and it's a reality. What courage would one have to say that I'm gonna pass this negative thought and just go out there and try again?
Good. The thing about these kind of negative thoughts, and this is something that I've become a lot more conscious of, is going back to the source means that there are probably other negative things that are happening around you. So isolating and figuring out what it is when it recurs. I mean, when it actually recurs and it's something that seems to be like part of your life, almost like gripping you. The thing is to go again, look at it, but find out what else is happening, because I find that if I give an example in terms of what I've worked on the last few months, is avoiding a lot of the noise, because there's a whole lot of noise out there. And avoiding a lot of the noise actually gives you a moment to actually quiet down, and then you're able to go back and figure out, or even talk to someone. Sometimes it's not even a journey on your own. You may talk to someone and say, this is the thought that's recurring. This is the negativity that I'm feeling, and it's a heaviness, and that's why maybe it keeps coming back, because it weighs on you and you kind of can't lift yourself up. So here's the thing. You might want to get help. You might want to talk to someone about it. You might want to divert your attention, because this is what sometimes happens when you almost in a spiral. And the spiral has, you're literally caught in it. You might want to distract yourself. You might want to do something different that pulls you out and just gives you another thought pattern. The thought patterns is something else that we could talk about another day, but changing your thought patterns, exposing yourself to different thinking, goodness me, just even going out in the sun.
Wow.
That,
Wow.
even that will change something.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Sure, you are dropping knowledge like nobody's business. Thank you so much. This is so exciting. Explain forward thinking.
Okay. My view
On forward thinking.
Is that we are in the present, and a lot of the time we need to be conscious that we're in the present.
Yeah.
But also be aware of what is coming, and possibly not all the time. Possibly look at the, like, be able to say, this might be a consequence of this that I'm doing today, and this is the tomorrow. This is what it will look like tomorrow. For me, that's forward thinking. It's also planning. It's also deciding that if I'm going to get to, just let me give a silly example. If I'm on my way to Cape Town tomorrow, I need to look at the map. I need to decide what I'm going to do to get there. I need to decide what clothes I'm going to pack. I need to plan it. So that's another aspect of forward thinking. But I always say, and again, I'm going to take you somewhere else.
Please do.
I do.
Please do.
But because being in the present means also being aware of the past. And that is also part of forward thinking. Because you look at what happened before that brought me here, so that in order to get to where I'm going, the forward thinking, I've packaged that and I understand it better. Okay. So imagine if I didn't know what had happened yesterday and I'm planning for tomorrow. Okay. That would kind of put me in a difficult position, right?
Yeah.
So this is my very off-the-cuff remark about forward thinking.
Yeah.
I'm sure there could be something seriously more academic that I could say, but not right now.
No, I guess also forward thinking can get one into a lot of trouble as well, because there's a saying that says, worry about today because tomorrow has enough problems of its own.
True.
So going back to what's the current situation with what's going on in the world, people that, nobody knew that this COVID was going to hit us so quickly. I mean, some of us was like, okay, because it's maybe in Europe, it's not going to come as fast as it is in Africa. And a lot of sudden changes had to be made. Why I'm sitting on this forward-thinking question is what happened to a person that already had planned? Like, people bought their... Are you getting that question? Do you see where I'm going with that question? Drop a bomb.
So over planning and overthinking one's life.
That's what I was getting to.
Yes, and that, now coming to a mental state, just to divert a little bit.
Please.
Coming to a mental state, that has certain disadvantages. Not like it cannot help, but there's situations where it can lead to what we call overwhelm. It can overwhelm you because you're dealing with something that you really don't know. You're really dealing with something that you really can't predict. We try and predict life, but here's the thing: you can only plan, but also allow for flexibility, because that means that this is in our context as well, you're also surrendering your life to God, because how do we know how things are really going to work out? How do we know that? We live in faith, we live in hope, but the bottom line is we really don't know. And part of creating that plan, that forward thinking part, is also to give us some kind of comfort, isn't it? It's also to create almost a cushion for us to land on, so that we don't feel like things are so uncertain. But here's my question also: what if we are allowed to live in that space where we really, really walk by faith? And now this is me going into the faith walk, where we really, really walk by faith. And it's not just something we say, because we don't know what tomorrow looks like. But we hand over our lives, we surrender our lives, and we actually say, you know what, it really is in God's hands. And coming back to my, if I just give a testimony about my life,
it's all about you. The platform today is all about you. It's all about you.
Thank you. Because when I think back to 5 years or 10 years or 20 years ago, I would never have predicted my life to look like this.
Exactly.
I would never have predicted it.
Meaning?
Meaning that I've had to literally roll with the punches and learn to be a new person.
Wow.
And so the person I thought I was going to be when I was 20, 25 or 30 is a completely different being.
Exactly.
The person that's sitting in front of you is a completely different being.
Go deeper.
It has allowed me the flexibility to accept every role, every situation, every change, every season, and that I think is a strength. There are times when we, of course, the human in us will literally scream like a baby. But when you take a step back, you'll be like, okay, that was great. It's like an adrenaline rush in the spirit. It's great because you look back and you're like, okay, something happened there. I had no clue what was going to happen, but look, here I am.
Wow.
So, in the arms of grace, that's all I can say.
Wow.
In the arms of grace.
Lastly, oh my gosh, this was so exciting. Where are you now, mentally? What keeps you going? What makes you get up? Especially, again, I'm going to go back to what's going on now. What makes you get up and say, look, life, I'm going to get up this time and this is where my frame of mind is going to be. What's the motivator behind that?
I'll tell you honestly, it's looking back and realizing that my journey has had a meaning, because I just said if I'd looked back if I'd known 5 or 10 years ago what my life was going to be today, I would have been shocked. I would have been. I probably would have said, "Stop the bus! I'm getting off. This is not going to work." But here I am. So every day I wake up and things change. It really doesn't. It doesn't mean that I know what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm planning. I'm dreaming. Yes. But I'm also dreaming big. This is the other part. I've learned to absolutely stretch myself because, hey, this is where I am and I didn't know I was going to be here. I had no clue. So why not push it? Why not test it? Why not keep going? And so that's what wakes me up in the morning. I'm excited, and not every day. Some days this is the truth. True. Some days I wake up almost in an anxiety mode, like, okay,
naturally so.
I'm not sure what's going to happen, but this is where the mental control comes in, because that part of managing what's in your mind is about, no, why would I go there? Why would I think like that? You see, so I come back to myself, not as fast as I'd like to some days, but I come back to myself to literally have a conversation with Palesa, and sometimes even the younger Palesa, the younger version of me, who comes and has stories like, look at you now. And I'm like, no, girl, relax, we're doing well, we will be fine, look at how far we've come. So yeah, that's what I do. And I have to say, it's something that I really want to share, because crazy as it sounds, it really works. It really works. And that's where sometimes our strength needs to come from. A place of just believing and trusting. And knowing that he who's in us is greater than he who's in the world. Truly, truly. So yeah, that's the story.
Palesa, thank you so much for sharing this vision with me. Thank you so much for sharing the space. Thank you so much for making the time. Palesa means, what does it mean? Flower. Rose?
No, it's a generic name for flowers.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for coming through. Peace and light. I love you.
Really is my pleasure. I love you too.